So thank you so much for coming. I am so glad you are here. This session is designed to show you how you can position yourself on LinkedIn to land the next role that you're aiming for. So I know for a lot of you, this may be a pretty frustrating time or uncertain time. Perhaps you're between roles. Perhaps you feel stuck in your current role and it doesn't feel like a good fit anymore. Whatever brought you here today, I first want to just take a moment to commend you for taking that proactive step towards your job search. Because right now, especially when things are uncertain and you kind of feel stuck, taking these small actions really matter and point you in the right direction. And I promise I am not going to let these 30 minutes go to waste. So let's dive right in. All right. So first, I want to talk about the overall strategy because like anything in life, we don't want to go in without a plan, and that absolutely includes LinkedIn. So it is critical to position yourself with intention, and that starts with two simple steps. The first one is to start with the end in mind. So LinkedIn works best when you are very clear about what job opportunity it is that you are trying to attract. And I totally get the feeling that when things are really uncertain and you don't know what's coming, it's easy to just default to listing everything that we've done. And I actually just spoke to a lawyer last week who said, yeah, I did some litigation because corporate's been kind of slow. I don't like litigation. I actually hate it, but I feel like I should just include it because, there might be a role for litigation. And I asked him, do you want that? And he was like, no. So I said, okay, if that's the case, then you don't want to include litigation because if you speak to basically every role that you could be applying for, in effect, you're not really speaking to any particular role. So instead, you want to get very clear on the role that you actually want and think about the job descriptions that really excite you, not the ones where you might consider it just because you feel like you should. And then once you know what it is, that ideal job opportunity that you are envisioning, then the next question is who needs to actually notice you to make that happen? So you don't have to limit yourself to just speaking to recruiters or the person who posted the job. It could be perhaps the managing partner of the practice area that you're targeting to enter. It could be the in house counsel who works for the organization that you've applied to. It could be other lawyers who are in the industry or practice area that you're trying to get into who can vouch for you once they get to know you. So that is who your LinkedIn profile and posts and any content you share should speak to, because that is how you're going to get on their radar and stand out as a candidate. All right, so we're gonna actually really dive into the actual profile optimization tips. But at this point, you might be wondering, why am I qualified to even teach you this? Which is a totally fair question. So I am not a marketer by background. I am a lawyer like yourself. I practice tax and fund formation law at Davis Polk, Gunderson, and at Pathway Capital, a private equity firm here in SoCal. And last year, I actually just decided to give myself a break without any plan. And I started just writing on LinkedIn for fun, just to share what I was learning. And that started this whole venture. So my posts are getting seen by an audience much larger than my connections. I reached over 1 million impressions just from posting once to three times a week over the last year. And with that kind of visibility, opportunities just came to me very organically from connections that I didn't even know. So senior executives, founders, lawyers, they were DMing me asking, how do you write content like that that resonates? And so I began actually helping them for free and just writing posts or coaching them on how to actually show up more strategically on LinkedIn. And it worked. They were getting client leads. They were getting contacted for job opportunities that they normally would have to apply to, but being asked by recruiters or hiring decision makers like, hey, we saw your post. Would you ever consider working with us? And these opportunities just all came organically just from positioning themselves strategically on LinkedIn. So everything I'm going to be sharing with you today are the same tips that I've told to these lawyers. And so they're going to work. So another fun fact that I want to share is I actually got rejected more than 100 times during my first job search. I actually also lost 10 pounds in the span of 3 months from all the stress I was going through. And I'm pretty petite, so that's a lot for me. But my last two jobs, I actually landed through LinkedIn. So that's why I care so much about sharing these tips because they've not only worked for other lawyers, but these are the things that I've actually applied myself. And I just want to let you know if you know how to position yourself clearly and consistently on LinkedIn, it's really going to open doors that you didn't even know existed. So, where do we start? I first want to talk about your profile because that is literally the basics of any LinkedIn presence. LinkedIn is becoming like the new digital resume, and we all check it ahead of meeting people, interviewing them to really assess if they're the right fit. So the same goes for you. Before people make a determination about whether you might be the right candidate, they're checking out your LinkedIn. So it's automatically going to become the first impression that you make that's going to help them make that determination. So we want to talk about how to actually optimize it. All right, the first place I want to start is with headlines. I see these headlines all the time: attorney, legal counsel, and maybe like associate or partner at XYZ firm. That doesn't really tell me anything about what you do or who you help and why you're the right fit for a role. And a lot of attorneys actually treat their headline like an afterthought, but on LinkedIn, your headline follows you everywhere. Every time you post, every time you send someone a message or a connection request, and importantly, it actually determines whether you show up in the search results. And in many cases, a lot of recruiters, decision makers, they are specifically typing in keywords to find the candidates that they want to hire. So if your headline doesn't reflect that, you're going to get missed. So let's talk about how to actually make it strategic. So I have 3 templates for you that I recommend depending on your goals and maybe where you are at in your career. So template 1, this is a very clear and descriptive format that works well, especially for those search results that you want to appear in. So practice area attorney, and then enter keywords that really signal your expertise or specialty within that practice area, and then follow with the current or former role that you have. So example, for me, because I'm a funds lawyer, I would put something like private funds attorney, private credit, private equity, fund formation. These are all keywords that would pop up in the job descriptions that I am aiming for. Former counsel at Pathway Capital. So the goal here is to really put in those exact keywords that hiring managers are looking for. And you may be wondering, like, I don't actually know what those keywords are. If that is the case, then copy and paste 5 to 10 job descriptions that are your ideal jobs that you are targeting, and then put those into ChatGPT or another Gen AI tool and say, what are the key skills or terms that appear most often that I can fold into this headline template? And then have ChatGPT generate those ideas for you and fill it in. Template 2. This is much more value driven. It's more ideal if you are applying for client facing roles because it shows how you help, not just what you've done. So, again, practice area attorney, helping or advising your ideal client. So, this would be the ideal client that your job opportunity that you're aiming for, who they typically serve, and what types of issues that they typically advise on, and then put the current or former role. So, it could be corporate finance attorney advising early stage startups on venture financing, associate at Cooley. And the last template, this is great if you are between jobs or maybe you're trying to pivot into a new direction. So you could say something like, list your background, writing on specific trends, issues, or transitions in the industry, and then put in your former role. So this signals that you are still active in your practice area or industry and keeping up to date with developments. You're not just job hunting. So for example, commercial counsel, writing on AI risk and emerging deal trends, former in-house counsel at Microsoft. And depending on your comfort level with Gen AI or ChatGPT, you can just take your resume or a bio that you have and say, hey, ChatGPT, generate a headline for me using one of these templates that you pick and say, give me 10 headlines. And then it's going to give you a pretty good starting point, and all you have to do is just refine it. So that's a really easy way for you to start having a new headline that's very optimized. All right, now I want to talk about profile photo because whether we like it or not, they really matter. They are the first thing that people see, and it immediately shapes whether they want to actually work with you or not. And a lot of people actually still don't have a photo, which is kind I don't want to say shady, but sketchy because, with AI and a lot of fake accounts on these platforms, you get a little bit suspicious. Like, is this even a real person? So you definitely want to have a photo. But some other common mistakes are having a pixelated photo. So this may be a small detail, but as lawyers, we care about those details. So we really want to make sure it's a crisp, sharp photo that really shows your face. And then I've also seen these cropped group photos where someone's hand is on your shoulder. Typically, I think a lot of people use those like wedding photos. Um, it's a little bit distracting and it kind of makes it seem like your profile photo is an afterthought, and we don't want that, right? Also, zoom matters. So in the second photo, it's the same photo, but it's hard to see their face. And on LinkedIn, your photos appear really small. So you want to zoom in and make your face really clear and easy to see to help build that trust immediately. And another thing to keep in mind is to dress for your audience. So as you'll see, the first two photos are very polished. It could be really great to have this kind of photo if you're trying to land a role in a maybe more traditional institution like a bank. But the third one is more relaxed. So that can be great if you are targeting roles that are in startups or tech. And facial expression also matters. So generally speaking, warm and approachable photos work pretty well. But perhaps you are targeting a role in litigation where people want to look very intentional and serious. Like maybe that's the type of people that you want to work with as well. So the point is to be really intentional based on the people that you are trying to reach. And if you're not sure what kind of photo that would be or the facial expression, then check out the people on the firms or the websites of organizations who work there and are in the roles that you are targeting and see how they present themselves because that is usually a good indicator of how they would want their team member to be in their profile as well. All right, now I want to talk about background banners. So you've done the hard part. Maybe someone saw your content, liked your comments, and clicked your profile, and then they land on this blank banner. Well, that's a missed opportunity because your banner is prime real estate. It is one of the first things that people see on your profile. So it's one more opportunity to reinforce who you are and help you make a connection with the person who's visiting. So don't leave it blank. What you can include is maybe a photo of you on stage or speaking at a panel or a conference, even just you meeting people, a photo op of that. It could be an image of your city skyline or a well-known landmark where someone's like, oh, I know that bridge. It's Brooklyn Bridge. I live in Brooklyn. Like that's one more connection that you could establish, right? So I actually have a pre-made set of banners that I'm going to share after this session in a resource guide that you can use as a placeholder until you find that banner that works for you. All right. There is one more really important tip that is overlooked on LinkedIn. So, by default, LinkedIn prioritizes your connections, which means that someone has to send you a connection request and then you have to accept it before you consistently see each other's content. But a better way that I recommend is to switch to the follower setting. So followers can see your content without having to send you a connection request. So it feels like a lower commitment action to follow someone as opposed to sending a request. So more people are going to click follow. And that helps you grow your audience much faster. And unlike connections, which is capped at 500, your real follower count is visible. So if you have any number of connections that is more than 500, it's going to show the exact number of followers. So that immediately signals expertise. And when someone visits your profile, they say, oh, Sunny actually has a presence in this practice area or in this industry. That helps you build your credibility and authority so much faster. And I'm going to share instructions on how to actually turn this setting on in your resource guide as well. All right. Another thing is custom LinkedIn URLs. So you may have seen those LinkedIn links where it ends in like a random string of characters and numbers. So a lot of people have that because that is the default URL. And that kind of makes you look a little bit messy when people look your profile up. And I actually recommend using a custom LinkedIn URL that you generate because it just looks cleaner. So it's instead of having something like on the left that's like a random list of characters, I actually have a custom page that is my full name that's displayed in my profile as well. And why this is important, aside from the fact that it makes it more clean, is that it makes your profile more discoverable when people look you up in a Google search. So if they want to just find you on LinkedIn really quickly, it's going to pull up your profile much faster. All right, now I want to talk about the About Me section. So this is basically the section that appears at the top of your LinkedIn profile. It's kind of where you introduce yourself, highlight your expertise, and an easy way to think about it is like it's kind of like an elevator pitch that you give to someone. And the thing is, the first 4 lines, which is approximately 65 words, are all that people see before they click see more. So you really want to nail in your practice area, any concrete metrics like years of experience, number of cases you have handled, any major deals and awards within those first 4 lines. And another thing that I recommend is to use the first person. So saying I am instead of Sunny Kim is, because the I framing just makes you more relatable. You know, when you're saying Sunny Kim is blah blah blah, like that just comes off as much more stiff and disconnected. And it's just kind of like someone wrote that for you. So this template just makes you much more approachable. And I'm going to include this in the resource guide as well to help you structure your own About Me section. And experience section. This is where you list your titles and what you've done. And a lot of people just, they just list their company that they worked at and their title, but add those 2 to 3 lines that really highlight what you achieved in each role. So, and also use relevant language, industry terms that really show you speak to your audience. The people who are going to be looking to fill these roles, they want to make sure you speak their lingo. So include them and keep it concise. 2 to 3 lines is ideal. If they go beyond that, again, it's going to trigger that see more line, and people are not going to click through and read the lines and lines of text that you have about each experience. So just make it really, really, really effective in those first 2 to 3 lines so they really get an idea of what impact that you provided in your previous roles. And perhaps right now you are in between jobs. So at that point, you may be wondering, what do I actually include in my break? So there are 2 options that I propose. One is to add a transitional role. So maybe you're consulting or advising or doing any sort of project-based work in a fractional capacity, then add that as a role because it shows that you're staying proactively or professionally active. And even if it wasn't a full-time position, that's totally fine. Option 2 is to add a career sabbatical. So maybe your break, you're using it intentionally to kind of treat it as an opportunity for you to explore your interests. So maybe you're writing, you're attending CLEs, you're mentoring others. Highlight how you're still invested in professional development and exploring your personal interest. So you're not just, filling the gap or hiding it, you're just reframing it intentionally. And that can really make a difference in how someone actually perceives you. All right, open to work badge. I know a lot of you probably have seen this from people. Maybe you have one yourself right now. I personally don't recommend turning on this banner publicly, and here's why. So if you're employed, obviously that's going to send a message to your current employer that you're 1 foot out the door. We don't want that. If you're between roles, it kind of shifts attention away from your expertise that's on your About Me section or on your headline and shifts that focus to your status and that you're looking for a job. So what I actually recommend is to turn the setting on for recruiters only because this signals that you are interested in looking for opportunities, but you're not being vulnerable. And recruiters can still find you and hit you up with opportunities, but your network widely is going to see your thought leadership and not just your status. So it's still a way for you to keep in touch with opportunities that could be aligned with what you're looking for without really diluting your value and expertise. All right. Another thing you may be wondering is, do I get LinkedIn Premium or keep the free account? So LinkedIn Premium has a couple advantages. I mean, it is absolutely possible to still land your job with a free account. I want to just make that clear. But it does have added benefits to upgrade to Premium to maybe see who's actually looking at your profile. The duration for when you can look that up is much longer. You can look at the past 90 days of who looked at your profile. You can also find out if you are a top candidate before even applying for the role. Although I think that even if you don't qualify as top candidate, you should still send the application if you know that you qualify and LinkedIn may just be wrong. Um, Also, it doesn't have a cap on adding personalized notes to outgoing connection requests. So that is one added benefit that it has, because it does help to add that personalization when you send connection requests, especially if it's someone that you haven't met before. So there are these added benefits. And if you are kind of interested in testing it out, it does offer a free trial. So that is something that you can explore. And another thing is featured banners. So this is a really, really great way for you to signal your expertise or authority on your profile. So you can add a feature section, and within that, you can actually add an educational LinkedIn post that got a lot of engagement. So maybe in your prior role, you wrote about an article and that was featured in one of your posts previously, and people really found it valuable. You can add that to your feature section where people who haven't actually seen that exact post, when they land on your profile, they'll see it right away and say, oh, wow, this actually was helpful. And it seems like other people found it helpful. So this person knows what they're talking about. It could even be awards or recognitions that you've had. It could be deals or case announcements that were really big that you want to associate with yourself. It could also be articles that you wrote or were quoted in. Just the actual article link yourself, you can feature that as well. So this is a very easy tool, but it actually helps you stand out so much faster and establish credibility much, much quicker than having no featured section in your profile. And because we're lawyers, there are some ethical considerations that you want to keep in mind. Obviously, you don't want to include any false or misleading information that is specifically prohibited by the model rules. And if you are in New York, if you include anything that's more than biographical information, that could be construed as advertisement. There was a New York City Lawyers Association opinion on this, so that is one thing that you want to keep in mind. So you have a polished profile after implementing all of these steps. How do you actually get people to go to your profile? Because that is what we want, right? So what you want to do is you want to find and grow your target network with intention. Find the people that we were talking about earlier, the hiring manager, the decision makers, your peers, thought leaders in the industry that you want to connect with. Then you want to send them thoughtful connection requests. Personalize those messages, maybe reference shared interest, a recent post you read about something that they had shared earlier, maybe a mutual connection. And then build the real relationships through comments and DMs. So start meaningful conversations. You're not trying to pitch, but actually build relationships where for them, it becomes a no-brainer that, hey, I think you'd be a great fit for this role, or I want to make an introduction because I think I know your expertise now and I think you make a great fit. And then finally, you want to write and post content. So I recommend posting about three different pillars. First is educational content. So perhaps it's what you're learning. Maybe it's industry trends that you are observing. Relatable content. Something about your experience that gets people from thinking, okay, this lawyer knows what they're talking about, to actually saying, I want to connect this person because they resonate with me on a new level where I know that I like this person before I even meet them. Promotional content. So this is where you highlight your wins, a panel you spoke at, articles, that really gets your name out there. And all of these things you can do, but if you've never sent a connection request, if you've never DM'd someone or written your first post, I know that's something that a lot of lawyers struggle with. It can feel really overwhelming. Like, where do you even start? What do you say in a post? How do you reach out without making it awkward? So that is why I built this course, LinkedIn Resonance Guide for Lawyers. It's not just theory, it's actual system with templates that help you write posts that get seen, help you send DMs that really naturally start conversations so it leads to that next job opportunity that you're looking for. And on top of that, I am offering a live group coaching session where I'm going to walk you through more tailored strategy and feedback that is customized for you. So actually for today only, I'm offering this discount for you all because I know you are all transitioning to new roles. It's usually 300, but you can use this $100 off code higher to get it for only 197. And actually today is the last time I'm actually making this available for this price. After this, it's going to go back to 300 and I'm keeping it there because I understand the value of this workshop and this course. And it really isn't information. It's really a transformation. I got these two messages separately just over the weekend. One lawyer saw 125% increase in profile views and 250% more visibility and interactions on their posts just from posting after taking my course. And another lawyer emailed me yesterday saying that after they watched the course, they saw an 82% increase in their post impressions versus the entire 365-day average. And that's just from posting 2 posts after taking my course. So again, the code expires at midnight, and I really think it could help you if you really want to use LinkedIn strategically to get more people to see the expertise that you have and to land that next position that you're looking for. So I hope it's helpful and it's something that you consider. And finally, I want to show you something that I think has helped me and kind of reframes our mind around rejections. So, okay, does anyone watch Shark Tank or are familiar with it? Yeah. So Barbara Corcoran, she's one of the sharks on the show. And I didn't know this, but in her initial interview, she actually got rejected from becoming a shark on Shark Tank. The producers ignored her and didn't have her on the show, but she sent this follow-up email basically very confidently stating why she is the right person for the role. And I think this is a really great inspiration for all of us because I've gone through rejections, maybe you have too, but just because you've experienced it doesn't mean that it's a forever rejection. It may lead to an opportunity, and just right now isn't the right time. And so just keep going. I know that for my first role, I got rejected 100 times, and I said, hey, I know I could be a really great fit, and I really would love to be reconsidered. And after that rejection, I actually heard back and got an offer 3 weeks later. So that is just something that I want to share to hopefully give you a little bit more motivation because I know it could be a pretty challenging time right now. Okay, so I will end there and see if anyone has any questions. And I'm happy to stick around for a little extra to help you answer your questions. So yeah, please feel free to jump in. Any
I have a
questions?
question.
Go for it.
First, let me confirm that I was the one. The picture was there, so I confirmed that. I confirmed that first of all, I had a post that I revised the post, which is and posted it on a different day just to see the traffic on Sunday, and it still got 250% more visibility than my previous post. But the first one got like 1,000 reactions, which is 250% more of anything that I got. I got just right now 2 emails from a recruiter. I get like 2 a day.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
I didn't know about that part. That's amazing.
because I want to say something about that. I want to put an asterisk. These recruiters seem not to be either American or they're all with respect to the market and the job that I want, but they're not they themselves are seem like from a different country. They sometimes don't have any photo, or they're from or they you look at they were engineers somewhere in India or something like that. So you don't like, all of the recruiters are open to those jobs. So they don't have a relationship with those firms. So it's just so I know I'm visible to them, but I want to shift to visibility of the people that make the decisions, the hiring partners, um, that kind of thing. And when I will tweak my um, LinkedIn according to this, then I hope to be more visible there. So while I am more visible, I need to be more visible the right way.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask, and this brings me to my question, is some of us are thinking about pivoting and wanted to cast a wide net. So if you do it to a specific job, then it would be only for that specific job. So what do you suggest as a strategy to do that? To switch it up every once in a while according to your attention at that time?
I That's a really great question, Jonathan. And I want to ask you, when you cast that wide net, are all of those jobs in that wide net the ideal jobs that you want, or only a select few of them are ones that you would consider seriously?
I would say that they are ideal in the new, it's totally different from one another. It's not in the same area, it's not, it's if I look at I'm an ECVC, okay, associate, this is my bread and butter, but I'm looking to pivot into entertainment. I'm just giving an example, okay? So it would be totally different. And if I land a job in entertainment which would be junior, it might be my dream job if it's a specific, entertainment job. um, it's kind of, this is what I'm thinking of it. If you're pivoting, totally pivoting, how should you strategize that?
Yeah, if you are fully pivoting, it is totally it you are right that you may have to start from a more junior position, but that's just the reality of it. They're not going to put you in a senior position if they haven't actually seen your experience. But you can still appeal to that practice area by starting to write about topics or posts that really signal that you are exploring that area and you are becoming more and more well versed in it. If that is your ultimate goal, it is still possible to position yourself as that, because if you are trying to write for both people who are hiring for corporate and both entertainment, that's just going to confuse people. It's not going to work. It is much, much more strategic to think of that ideal role. And if you are serious about making that pivot, you want to speak to those people in decision making roles that are in that specific practice area. Because if you're doing both, it's just, you're not going to catch any nets, basically.
Okay, great, thank you.
Oh, the code is not working. Okay. I will look at that right now. Sorry about that. Okay, so I am seeing some questions in the chat as well. Yeah, would you recommend verifying your LinkedIn profile? Uh, yes, there is a verified badge. I don't think people will super care about it as much if you have a profile photo and it's clear that you have a lot of connections. I don't think it's going to significantly improve your brand, but if you feel comfortable with sharing those information, it is just one banner that could maybe signal that you are a legit account. So if it's not a hard ask on your part to share that information, that I don't think there's any harm in verifying your LinkedIn profile. Nancy asked, do you have examples of a LinkedIn profile that includes attorney advising disclosures? Yes, I do, and I will share that after the session. I will fix the code. And then how do you recommend DMing a hiring manager if you're connected on LinkedIn, but never really talked? Oh, okay. Great question, Nate. So if you've never really talked, you may have a mutual connection. That is someone that you can mention saying, hey, I saw we both know this person and she works with you. I think she's great. That's a natural way to start it. Maybe that hiring person actually has written posts before and you can comment on her post to get on her radar and then send a connection request saying, hey, what you wrote on this XYZ topic, it really spoke to me for ABC reasons. That's another way to do it. Or just say, hey, I'm actually looking to connect with more lawyers who are hiring for roles in this space. I'd love to stay in touch. That's another natural way to start the conversation. Troy said, will the relationship status with your connections change in some manner if I change settings to the follower setting? I have a large number of connections. I think, 5K, okay. The relationship status will not change. You will still be connected to everyone that you've already previously connected to, but now it's going to display that connection number as well as the follower number, which is going to be automatically higher because anyone who is a connection with you is automatically going to be included in your follower number. So yeah, it's going to definitely show the 5K number. Also great, Troy. That's a lot of connections that you have. Ahmed, how would you recommend using these skills as a 3L looking for a post-grad opportunity? Fantastic question here as well. So I recommend you use those DM strategies that I've talked about earlier to start really growing your network and making connections with lawyers who can give you those interviews and get you ahead of just instead of just applying through the automated system. So start building those connections and say, hey, I'm a 3L at this school. I'm actually looking to connect with more lawyers in this practice area because that's what I'm interested in. I would love to stay in touch. If I got a message like that, I would personally be very, very impressed. Okay, great. Everyone found this really helpful. I will send the resource guide following this session. And also, if you have questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn QR code, so please feel free to scan it and add me. I would love to keep in touch with all of you. So thank you again for coming. I hope this was helpful. All right, bye.